Well, hello and welcome back to Hey Luskos. We're your hosts, Levi and Jennie Lusko, wishing you a happy Thanksgiving week. Jennie
Yeah.
Lusko, we've reached it. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving.
Oh, I love Thanksgiving. I just love this time of year.
And you and I both, we dressed like turkeys.
Very fall-y.
It's very turkey-ish.
Although turkeys are black.
Not when they're
the turkey
cooked.
meat.
Not when it comes out of the oven.
I just think of all the turkeys that I see throughout the year just wandering around.
I always think, you fools, you have no idea what's coming. We do have an abnormally large amount of turkeys running around.
We do.
Yeah.
And I wonder who's going to get these.
What a disconnect between a turkey living and a turkey that comes out of the...
It honestly all grosses me out, to be perfectly honest.
Well, guess who's taken the helm of cooking the turkey this last couple of years?
I know.
This guy. I've never really been a big in the kitchen Thanksgiving guy.
No, you've always been good at cutting the turkey.
Well, sure.
Like you roll up your sleeves.
I watched the YouTube
video. You get
video.
the right knife, and you do really good job.
But this last couple of years,
you are the cooker.
You have gagged your way through turkeys for as long as I've been married to you.
I do it
you hate
because you love it.
You would call it a labor of love. I would honestly call it you hate it.
No, it is a labor of love because I did it. But I honestly would not eat turkey on Thanksgiving.
Sure.
Because of the work that it takes.
A friend of ours told us about the turkey air fryer. Now, I know you hear fried turkey and you start thinking, Levi, don't do that. You're going to blow yourself up with hot oil.
Yeah.
Not what I'm talking about.
No.
I'm talking about air fried turkey covered in Cajun seasoning. Good friend of mine, shout out Kip Smith, told me about this method of getting the. By the way, we need to get those spices. I don't have any.
Oh, we used them all?
Oh, we used them all. Oh, you used them all. I used so many of those Cajun spices. I was sneezing
your eyes were burning.
Up a storm. But you rub this thing in spices. You let it sit overnight. So I'll do that tonight. Then you throw that thing in the air fryer. Sits outside. It goes to town. It goes to Chinatown. You pull this sucker out. I'm talking about moist. I'm talking about crispy on the outside.
It was
spicy,
last year.
Most delicious, tender turkey I've ever eaten in my entire life.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you.
I can't wait.
I'm thankful that you have taken the duty.
Reins. Taking the reins.
So now I'm just doing mashed potatoes and sweet potatoes and stuffing if we end up doing that.
Stuffing?
Green beans.
I could live and die without ever seeing stuffing again, and I would never care.
Yeah.
Not a big fan.
Yeah.
I do love me some yams. Love the green bean casserole with the crispy onion strings.
On top.
And then love some Macy's Day Parade.
Yeah.
Gotta have that on. One day we should go to the Macy's Day Parade.
Live? Like in person, you mean?
But go to the rehearsal. Not the day of. The day before they do a run-through. Yeah. I guess you can go out and watch that too.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we should do.
We should do that.
And then on Thanksgiving Day, we go to Cracker Barrel. Because we won't have been able to cook.
Wait, there's Cracker Barrel in New York?
Oh, sure there is. There's Cracker Barrel everywhere. Probably not
Montana.
In New York City.
Wait, do we have it in Montana?
In Montana, just not in where we live in
Montana.
Okay. Yep. All right, and then you got big weekend plans?
Like you're not a part of them?
I'm just asking. Are you going to do some Black Friday shopping?
No, I don't know.
No?
I've never been a big Black Friday shopper, except for when we've been to New York and we actually are like in the crowds.
On Black Friday.
Which, I don't know.
It's stressful.
Take it or leave it.
All right. So we did want to throw out there is a big Cyber Monday sale going on for Movement Conference. So far we've got, of course, KB, Lisa Harper, Maddie Pruitt-Trout, you and I, Fresh Life Worship. We've got Chris Gulala coming and more. This is a youth conference taking place at the end of July in Kalispell in the Flat Valley area. We have youth groups and family groups from all around the country coming to camp out for a few days, experience God, experience Montana. And on Monday, there is a flash sale, 10% off for any registration. All you have to do is go to mvmnt24.com, get registered, stake your place. You can add to the group later. So you just register one. You can add in more later, but you're going to add it more in at the price you lock in.
Yeah.
So go on Monday and do that. It will not be something you regret.
It really won't.
Well, Jennie, today we have an amazing conversation we're about to serve up to you. A steaming, fresh from the oven conversation with John and Lisa Bevere.
Okay, so I don't generally play favorites.
Whoa,
but
I see what's
feel
coming.
like this might be one of my most favorite conversations.
Somebody fire off an air horn. Jennie
Just
Lusko,
John
that's a
and
big
Lisa
deal. We're talking
Bevere.
about 144 podcasts.
I know,
And
I
you're
know,
saying
I
this
know,
is
I
your
know.
favorite?
Honestly,
Wow.
they are so fun, and I just want to go hang out with them.
It was a
Double
very
date.
enjoyable conversation.
They're fun. They speak the truth. They are lovely people. They are great parents and grandparents and leaders in ministry, and they're just fun to talk to.
And
So
it told some great
this was
stuff.
a great conversation.
Before we transition to that conversation, I do want to say that I know that God's put it on your heart for us in 2024 to spend the whole year reading the New Testament.
Yeah.
And that is kind of an exciting thought.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. We're as a church, we're going through the New Testament together. Our team created a beautiful resource, and we called it Fit for the Fight. And the theme for the year is Acts 2024, which growing up, I think I was in high school. Acts 2024 was like my verse, my theme verse for my life. And it goes, however, I consider my life worth nothing to me, if only I may finish the task and run the race that God's called me to, or something. Clearly, it's
Very
stuck
close.
with me.
It's left a big mark on you.
Yes. But I love that it's the year 2024, and this is going to be our.
You love that. You love when things line up like that. I see you frothing over there. 2024.
I don't know. I just love it. It's the year that Olivia graduates from high school. It's just a
big
special year. And so I just love the thought of going slowly through the New Testament. It's basically like a chapter a day.
Yeah, it's more chill than a full Bible in a year.
Yeah, and as a church going through this together. And so I just want to invite you guys to join us.
So we're officially extending an invitation. It's still the end of November to every Luskateer to join us in 2024 for building a life where none of these things will move us, that will be anchored to the cross, the resurrection, the Holy Spirit's power in our lives, living lives to love Jesus and grow fit for whatever fights come.
Yeah.
So here be, wait, how do you say it? Here be. No. What is it?
Hear ye?
Hear ye. I kept saying here be. Here be. Okay, sorry. Let me do that again. Hear ye, Luskateers. We are inviting you to join us in Fit for the Fight.
Yeah.
A 1-year reading through the New Testament.
You can order them now.
No,
you can buy them now.
I'm getting there.
Oh, sorry.
I'm getting there. I'm just hear yeing. We've put together a beautiful resource. You can get a PDF for free. So 2 ways to go about this. Get the PDF for free, keep it on your phone, which I would recommend do that either way. Because sometimes when I travel, if I'm traveling light, I don't have the physical journal, so I have on my phone. Today, I did that for our 23 version of this. You can get that at Fresh Life Church, freshlife.church/store. A Bible reading in a year. We will be talking a New Testament in a year. We'll be talking about it throughout the podcast conversation next year. As many of you that would do this with us, we think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We're all about getting people into God's Word. Or you can buy the physical copy. It's $10. And let me tell you something. We should probably charge more than that because it's A, beautiful, and B, we're barely covering our costs at that. But it is a gorgeous journal with spaces to write prayers, spaces to write down verses that mean something to you.
Devotionals that we've written. Little calendar situation.
It'll
just
guide you through. It's a destroy this journal model.
Yeah.
We want it to look by the end of the year just trash with love.
Like the one that I have from this year, from our Crown the Year, is just like pages are falling out. And
mine's gotten snowed on. It's gotten coffee stained on. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
But this is something we want you to get now so you can have it in hand by January 1.
Yeah.
So sometime in December, go to Fresh Life Church, freshlife.church/store and get the Fit for the Fight journal or download the PDF for free. And join us in reading the New Testament in 2024.
It's going to be awesome.
And be fit for your fight.
Yes. Amen.
Well, Jennie, we're going to turn things over to this podcast and then this conversation on the podcast. But then, I mean, I just got to admit how crazy it is that we are just days now away from this launch of this tour.
Oh, my gosh.
Very exciting.
So
Very exciting. Have you packed yet?
You know, I got to do the laundry first.
So no, you haven't.
No.
Ask me.
Have you packed yet?
I have in my heart.
Oh, okay. That's a good answer.
Uniform. Okay, guys.
That's the key in this.
I'm doing it. I'm really doing it.
Yeah, you are.
I decided I'm not
Aren't you
messing
wearing a
around.
shirt from your uniform right now?
I am. This shirt is my uniform shirt for the nights. Then I got a uniform for working out. I got a uniform for the bus. And friends, that's it. That's all I'm bringing.
Okay, that's what I need to figure out. I need to figure out what my uniform is.
Minimalism.
Yeah, so good.
Extreme, dare I say, idolatrous asceticism. No, I'm joking. I'm not going to give idolatry a shout out on this podcast. It's not right. Here be. I just have always gotten back from bus tours with heartbreak over how much I brought.
Yeah.
I just brought too much stuff that I didn't need. I hate it. So I'm bringing only the strict, hey, daytime, nighttime, workout, sleeping.
But you have found the fabric of these clothes that they will last. And I think that's something that I don't have. And I don't think they make for women.
Jennie, I don't know what you're saying.
No, like you said wool.
I'm going to be completely honest with you.
You have these shirts that are woolly, but they will last.
No, sweetheart. No, not woolly. They're wool. Wool
but they're woolly.
Doesn't produce stink as fast as cotton does.
Okay. So you have one shirt that you're going to wear for every night.
I'm wearing it.
And that's every night, literally.
Every night. I'm going to wear it.
And then you have one workout shirt that you're going to wear every night, every day.
Every time I work out.
And then you have just one leisure suit.
I mean, it's not going to be a leisure suit.
But leisure wear that you'll wear for the bus.
Which is always cold.
But it's all made of wool?
Buses are so air conditioned.
It's all made of wool.
It's all made of wool.
Okay, so you need to help me find woolly things.
You need to, baby, we're leaving in like 4 days. You can't get it now. It's too late. Your ship sailed. The time to be thinking of this.
Where were you 3 weeks ago?
I was telling you about this months ago. You were just going dur. That's nice for you. Look, it's 72 hours no stink is what they say. I'm going to push it to its limit. I took it on a test flight on this last trip.
Yeah, you did.
And I made you guys all smell my shirt after 3 days to wear it. And you said it smelled great, didn't you?
Yeah, but then I remember you saying, "Oop, think I found my limits."
I found the limits. Because, 3 days is good. 5 days without a wash, not so good. But what we did find was cold plunging in it was the same as washing it. That returned it to its natural state. So
wow,
after
you
the
really
workouts,
have done well. You've done well.
Figuring it out, people. All right, so the Recapturing the Wonder of Advent Tour launches on 11/29 in Spring Hill, Tennessee. And then we make our way through Georgia, North Carolina, Texas, and we end after a little stint in Alabama on December 16th in Bradenton, Florida. So if you live in any of those states, do swing on by LeviLusko.com. We would love to get to meet you, see you, and you could tell me how my shirt smells on one of these tour stops. But hey, I do want to say, Happy Thanksgiving, Lusketeers.
Happy Thanksgiving. We're thankful for you.
I mean, we really are. You guys are beautiful people. You share about these podcasts that mean something to you. Reshare clips. You leave us comments on the YouTube. You've subscribed. Some of you haven't yet. We're not mad. This is what it is.
Yeah, but meeting you in the wild is wonderful.
That's the best. Seeing your stickers, those of you who have them.
Oh my God.
Those of you who let us know about what your plans and intentions are once you get your hands on a 5-gallon bucket is awesome. And we just really like that we get to be a part of this podcast family with you.
Yeah, we do. We
All right,
you. Enjoy
this is John and Lisa Bevere. Happy Thanksgiving. Well, John and Lisa Bevere, welcome to Hey, It's the Luskos.
I love that.
We are delighted to be on with the Luskos. And you two are adorable. I love the hat. Love the coat you've got on there.
Oh.
It's a snowy day.
Blustery
We're
day.
adorable. We're adorable.
Yeah.
I don't think no one has ever said we're adorable.
But we're going to run with that. We're going to take that.
Take it.
We, with all our hearts, are excited about that. Want to talk about a lot of things. But first of all, of course, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. And so we wanted to just chat about that. What do you guys got planned for Thanksgiving this year?
So Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. Unfortunately, we are losing some of our children and daughter-in-laws and grandkids for Thanksgiving. So we go back and forth, like we get them one year, then we don't get them one year, then we get them. So we have imported a daughter-in-law from Australia. So we get to keep her. She's not going anywhere over Thanksgiving. So we love it. We usually do football?
Yeah, we usually have a touch football game. I'm a Lions fan. I've been following them since I've been 7 years old. So they usually play in the morning. And then it's all family. It's all games. We eat lots of great food. And it's just, I agree with Lisa. It's my favorite holiday because you don't have the stress of all the gifts and all the other stuff. It just, everybody gets together and just eats a lot of good food. And
then we play games because our family isn't happy unless someone goes to bed a loser. Like somebody has to win and somebody has to lose.
Funny.
So when you have 4 boys, everything is a competition.
Wow.
We basically chose wives for our sons by who could hold their own during a game. Like, so
It was
so
like a
we-
draft. You drafted the
them
daughters-in-law?
in.
Yeah, I remember when Addison brought Julie to our house and we were playing euchre. And then Addison was table talking and she called him out. She was like, "Hey, I don't need your help. I know how to play euchre. You don't need to table talk with me." And John turned to me and said, "Yeah,
She's the one."
She's the one. She's the one.
Okay, so euchre. I'm not familiar with this game. What is that?
So you play with 9 through king or through ace, and so the rest of the deck you don't use. And it's basically you're playing partners. Everybody gets 5 cards. Jacks are bowers. They're called. They're the highest. The first one who gets to 10 tricks wins. It's a lot of fun. It's a big northeastern game. If you live in Michigan, Indiana, I went to school at Purdue. I grew up in Michigan. Everybody knows how to play euchre.
It is mentioned in Jane Austen novels, so it actually precedes the Midwest Northeast. I just kind of felt cool because we play euchre. You might want to adopt it as a family game for you.
I think we do need to.
I like that.
And I love that you called Jack's Bowers.
That is funny.
That is amazing.
Okay, so my dad grew up in Michigan. Actually, both my folks are from Michigan. So he was a Lions fan growing up, but then he said at a certain point he got sick of the heartache, and so he quit on the Lions and became a Denver Broncos fan. Because I grew up in Colorado, so we have both of that migration in common. But I like that you have hung in there with the Lions.
I've told Lisa, if you ever question my faithfulness, just look at me. I've been following the Lions for all these years, and they've never even seen the Super Bowl. Yes, season after season of just heartache. And so last season was actually the funnest season I've ever had in the entire 60 years of following them because they beat Green Bay and they actually looked like they were good, and they followed it up. They're 5-2 right now, so who knows? I'm just glad my hope is in Jesus. He's the sure thing. The Lions, anything could happen.
We were fans of the Lion of Tribe of Judah, so it's okay whatever the Lions on earth do. We're gonna survive by that.
Amen.
Okay, and then who? You guys both cook? Or you guys is there duties that fall on Thanksgiving?
I'm the sous chef.
No, for Thanksgiving it's myself.
Okay.
You don't really do anything for Thanksgiving
Not really.
because he's usually
I make the coffee.
Hey, okay.
Needed.
Now, but your bio says that Lisa's the coffee aficionado.
So I make the coffee for her every morning that she absolutely loves. I have a nutter and I put cashews in it, dates in it, cinnamon, maple syrup, and vanilla. And it whips it all up into a milk. And then I put that into the frother, put it into her 3 shots of espresso, sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on top, and that's her drink every morning.
Ooh.
So everybody in my family loves it, and they're always like, "Okay, make it for me." So I'm usually making lots of coffee on that morning.
And the name is a nutter.
well,
Nutter.
so it's a nut milk maker.
Yeah.
So
NUTR. Lisa gave it to me for my birthday a year and a half ago. It's the best birthday gift I've ever gotten. I've actually bought now 3 of them.
Wow.
So one for our friend's house in Colorado when I go back and see our staff, one for when we visit Florida, and one for here. I just have to have it with me. I wish I could figure out how to travel with it because I always do carry on. I just can't. It's a little too big for it.
Yeah, imagine being behind you at TSA. Sir, what is that? It's my nutter. I don't leave home without it.
not large.
It's not that large, but it's just not. It's a little bit too large for a
John's a
carry-on.
little excessive.
I am completely OCD. I love it.
Yeah. So
Hey, you know what you like.
he does to the extreme. When he's not here, I do avocados, which is just coffee and ice cream.
Oh,
For
gosh,
morning?
it's so yummy.
Yes.
For morning. Oh,
You know
gosh.
what? I say you treat yourself. I like
I
it.
take salted caramel ice cream, Jennie's, and I just put it underneath the espresso machine and I just let it roll. And
So
whatever melts, I
The
just
first thing that hits me in the morning is 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and water. And then
Oh
I
my
do
gosh.
every single morning, whether I'm on the road or home, and then I do start with the tea. And now I start doing some black straight.
He does shots of
pour
espresso.
over coffee or Americano.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Wait,
First of all,
I just need to
I
go
just
back
say Lisa
to
starts her day with Jennie's ice cream.
avocado.
You know what? It's like living in heaven. Those calories don't count. Here we go.
Opposites attract. Yeah, I do. When I'm on the road, I travel with fat fuel coffee with MCT oil powdered. So yeah, I drink 4 to 6 to 8 shots of espresso because I care about the world. And so I drink espresso.
I wouldn't be alive today if she didn't.
So yeah,
you care about the world.
I've been killed. So
You have a fabulous caffeine tolerance then, clearly.
Oh, she had as many as 12 shots in the morning.
Wow.
But I'm Italian, so it's in my blood, so it works. And yeah, I don't normally do 12, and I don't want your people to be disturbed.
Sure. No, they
be disturbed.
If they hang with us every week, they have a high tolerance for being disturbed.
Well, I just feel like there's so much permission happening because of the fact that you have ice cream in the morning. Like that
only
just
when
gives
John's
me
gone.
So much joy.
Only when John takes the butter through TSA does she get Jennie's in the morning.
The nutter.
The nutter.
Dang it.
John comes with the nut milk to try to preserve my health level.
And does he bring this to you in bed, or is this you have to come out of your...
Sometimes. I lay there in hope. And I've been known to lay in bed for a half an hour waiting for him to bring it to me. So this did not happen until we were empty nesters.
Gotcha.
Just 100% for every woman out there that has children. Never happened until we were alone. So John's living his dream. I'm living my dream. He has me to himself. I get coffee in bed in the morning.
Wow, you guys. Oh my gosh.
You're giving us all the parents of the small children hope.
Yes.
Who have to lock the bedroom door every night. Yeah.
Party when you're an empty nester. Let me tell you. It's okay. So this is the way it goes. Mom cries like crazy and dad just got a raise.
Yeah.
Especially if you have boys.
Oh, our boys.
They eat so much. Our grocery bill is like almost $1,500 a week.
Oh my!
No. It was $2,000 a month. That's what it was. It was $2,000 a month. It was $500 a week.
Oh my god!
And so when the 3 oldest, because they lived with us till they were in their mid to late 20s. When they left, I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're only spending like $80 a week on groceries now."
We're rich.
We're rich.
We're Italian, so our boys lived with us until they got married.
Okay, and they all have the letter A for their names, right?
It's because we were poor. So we just kept all the jerseys A. Bevere. So all of them.
That's funny.
We did not have to change jerseys. So yeah, we had our first son in Dallas, Texas, and I loved the name Austin. But there's no way I was going to live in Texas and name a child Austin. So I thought,
because Austin's kind of in Texas, right? It's not fully in Texas.
Austin's the capital. Yeah, it's really, it's so liberal. It's not part of Texas, but it's the capital.
It's isn't it like a colony of California inside of Texas?
It is. Yeah. So we named Addison, and then we had Austin, and then we thought, oh, if we have another child, he's going to think, I'm left out of the A game. So we did Alexander. And then we tried to decide between Asher and Arden for our youngest son. And I had a dream. And so I named him Arden because he is fiery and determined. So then my grandsons are Asher, August, and Azariah. So they have just kept the A names.
That's special.
It's
a
little
so
tradition.
Special.
Okay, inspire us. How good is being a grandparent? I mean, I've heard nothing but good things. Are you guys just raving fans?
I am. Now, I have to be honest with you. I know there's some people that are like, I love grandkids because I can give them back. I love grandkids because I haven't made any mistakes with them. Again, us being Italian, we believe that our kids should be really close to us. So I have 5 of my grandkids within a 30-second bike ride. So we walk down to Arden and Christian's house and look at the child before he takes a bath and just like have fun a little bit, or walk down to Addison and Julie's and hang out with the 4 kids. We love, I love babysitting. I have a high tolerance for chaos. If you have ice cream in the morning, you have a high tolerance for chaos.
And you don't have diabetes, clearly, because that would put me into diabetic shock.
Yeah. John loves the grandkids visiting. He
2 hours is great. Is a great.
You set the
Yeah.
egg timer.
Most
And now
granddads I talk to, they're the same way.
I
They're like,
babysat.
we absolutely go crazy over it for 2 hours, and then I'm ready for a break.
I babysat all 4 of our grandkids for 9 days when the parents went to the
Yeah.
UK and John went to Florida.
Okay.
John was like,
No, I actually had ministry. You think I went to Florida? I had ministry to go to.
You think I went to Florida?
I
no,
was ready to
in
go.
between the trips.
I was ready to go.
Yeah, you
We're
guys
just-
beat the trail for a long time as far as like traveling. I would be scared to ask about air miles. Like, how many do you guys keep track of? How many air miles you've flown in your ministry?
I've got at least 9 to 10 million. I know that.
Oh,
So, I mean, but
Damn.
I've been doing this for 35 years.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 year alone, I was global service with United, and that was on my own. And I also had 227,000 with Emirates on that same year.
Gosh.
wow.
I've got 4 million with American, and I haven't flown them in over a decade.
So does that give you lifetime status then?
lifetime platinum status? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I'm lifetime platinum with American. Then I'm global services with United. I have 4.5 million with United.
I just always tell people it
And
just means
then-
I travel too much.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
go, oh my gosh, you got
It's
da-da-da.
full
And I'm
George Clooney is what it is.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the other one that I got to figure out is the Marriott points. Oh my gosh. I think I'm at 2.5 million. At one point I was 3.5 million.
That's
we,
amazing.
we made the choice of I do Hilton, he does Marriott. He made the better choice.
So you guys
So
stay
we-
at separate hotels. You don't ever see each other. Do you text message from the road then?
No, we do not do that. But like,
When you're out separately.
conferences,
She needs a break from me. So she's
I was
like,
going to say, I'm at the Hilton. He's across the street at the Marriott, but we text frequently. But he brings the coffee over anyway. Yeah.
yeah.
only if you brought the nutter. I don't think it's happening. So no, we're actually doing a marriage conference.
Oh, I love it.
Sounds like you need to go to a marriage conference. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
No, listen. We actually feel that not every couple should do what we do. Not every couple is graced to travel as much as we travel separately.
Yes.
And we are full on, full off people. When we're on the road, we're fully immersed in what we're doing. And then when we're home, we're fully immersed in being together and being as a family. And it does mean we edit other things out. You know, there's not a lot of social stuff going on. We may be socially awkward. I don't know, but we
I can assure you that's not the case.
No.
so much. When COVID happened, that was the first time we had spent so much time together.
Yeah, was that hard? Was that challenging?
No.
No, we loved it.
We loved
That's
it.
awesome.
And we played games, and I feel like I'm the champion on Thunder,
I love that you feel
Monopoly
that way.
Deal.
That's like the Lions.
Monopoly Deal's very fun.
Oh
It's
yeah,
That's a very fun
it's a
game.
Great game.
Because it's like the joy of a whole game of Monopoly in like 6 minutes.
Right. And so my family did not play games. My family believed in divorce and arguing and alcoholism. They did not believe in games or fun in a family. So when I married John, he brought me into a world of playing games. And when you have 4 boys, you have to do that. We were doing podcasts a month ago about how our family disciplined our children, which John skipped out of the podcast, and it was just so embarrassing to be a parent in the 80s and the 90s. As first generation Christians, we were hearing about all of our ridiculous things that we did as parents. But one of the things that our sons have always said that we did well was that we played with our kids. We ate dinner together as a family every single night.
Yeah.
And
That was thanks to Lisa.
yeah, and
Cool.
Amazing.
we believe training. You know, like we trained our boys. Like when my boys got married, their wives came and thanked me because my boys already knew how to do their own laundry. I cook, and I believe in messing up the entire kitchen when you cook. I don't believe it tastes good if you just stay in a small space. You have to inhabit all of it. So my boys, as soon as I was done cooking, the boys would begin to clean. And after dinner, they cleaned the whole kitchen.
Wow.
My boys, and again, a lot of moms think their goal is to serve their children. But the truth is you train your children and you serve your husband. And I think a lot of
Wow.
do your daughters-in-law give you gift cards every week for this? Or is
they love me.
That's
They want to do life with me.
amazing. Yeah.
And
Wow.
and so like I don't know, I have loved having my daughter-in-laws in my world. And I know that's not the story for everybody who has sons.
Wow.
And it was important to me. And John, of course, they love John. So I don't think there's a complicated relationship between father-in-law and daughter-in-law, but the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law one is a very complex relationship.
Wow. Okay. I'm sure you will want to come back to that. But I want to just hit something you said really quickly. Of course, no one should feel the obligation or pressure to take your calling on them. And we wouldn't think that would be good for anybody. But there are people listening who say, hey, my husband's a firefighter. He's in the military. My wife is, travels for work as a sales job. So there is a lot of overlap in coming and going, rhythms of being together, rhythms of being apart. I know you guys wrote a whole book together called The Story of Marriage, but are there any things you could just rapid fire off the cuff that would be best tips on integration, separation, if that is the calling on the marriage, which for many listening, it is the case?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's grace. Grace gives you the ability to do this. And what you have to remember is you're going to be two different roles on the road and at home. And you just kind of prepare yourself to go back to the servant at home as the husband when you're coming off the road. Of course, you served in a different way on the road. And you're out there. People are just like, thank you, thank you, thank you. They're taking care of you. I just come home and say, okay, now it's time for me to take care of Lisa. So I just come home because I believe that, Jesus left an illustrated sermon. The last one he did was wash the disciples' feet, saying, hey, I'm Lord of the church, but I'm the number one servant, because that's what servants did back in those days. They washed the family's feet when they came in. And I just believe that you have to get that mindset. And when you get that mindset, it becomes fun. It becomes fulfilling. If you see it as, oh gosh, I got to go home and work now. I got to go home and do all these things for Lisa or the kids. Well, then all of a sudden now you're going to be resentful and you're going to carry an attitude with it. So I think it's just a paradigm shift. And when we're away from each other, you just really focus in on what you're doing, either writing a book or preaching to people or doing other things for the ministry leadership. And you just fill your time with doing that. And you don't get lonely when you do that. You don't have to sit there and go, man, why can't I be with my wife right now? You just keep yourself busy, occupied. Yeah. And you spend a lot of time with the Lord too. That's the other good thing.
Yeah.
But then when you come home, you got to take care of home. So it's just two different mindsets.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a challenge with the reentry and the exit, though. I mean, I think that we all have to be honest that you can go out on the road and get affirmation for performance. And when you come home, people aren't like, what an amazing dinner. Can you sign my book? I mean, right. It's a different world. And I do think that one of the key problems is a lack of thankfulness. I know that so I was a stay-home mom with 4 kids when John was traveling and speaking. And I would notice that anytime I complained, anytime I thought, this isn't fair, I'm doing everything, he's gone. Because you guys have to remember, we're married, 41 years? Because I keep getting it wrong. 41 years in the ministry, 40, is that 40. Right? 40, okay. Wow. John, not me the whole time. But of course, I believe a wife is in it.
Full time, yeah.
Staying home and guarding the supplies. But whenever I complained,
solid 1 Samuel reference right there, or 2 Samuel reference right there.
The grace of God lifted on my life. Whenever I complained,
wow,
it was like my whole world fell apart. My boys make fun of me because they said they would wake up and I had worship music going all the time. I had worship music going. I thought, I'm going to arrest the atmosphere of my house so that I don't complain, for the presence of God, for expectation. And one of the things I think John did so well, and I tried to do, but my boys are men, so it didn't work as much for me, is he brought home the goodness of God. We would sit around the dinner table and John would say to our boys, I want to tell you what happened in the service. There was a young man who had an injured hand and the Holy Spirit pointed him out to me and God healed his hand right there. There were 80 people that came down for salvation. You guys have a part of that. And he would ask our boys, do you want to see me as taken, or do you want to see me as sown? Because if you see me as taken away from you, that's a very different dynamic than sowing. And then, the other thing is, when we were home, we enjoyed each other. We didn't complain about the times we didn't have together when we finally had time together. And again, it was trial and error, but we did do family dinner. We did do play with the boys. There were rhythms that we had when John was gone that were a little different than the rhythms that we had when John was home, but he wasn't disruptive to those rhythms. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely does.
I raised 4 boys. And so I remember one of my sons saying, Dad is not here. I'm 13. I have questions. I don't know how to be a man. Dad is not here. And what he did with me, Jennie, is he acted out with me because he was upset with John, but John wasn't there. So he attacked the relationship he felt the most safe with.
Yeah.
And I remember he was like, I need a man in my life. He's not here. He's not here. And I thought, well, John is obeying God. And there's always provision and obedience. So what is the answer there? So I went to one of our board members and I said, what do I say to Addison? And he said, well, does Addison want to get married one day? I was like, well, he's 13, 14. Yes, I think he does. And he said, you tell him that he's going to be processing the rest of his life with a woman. And he's starting now. And so like you can either make it about what they don't have or the unique gifting on their lives. And I feel like our boys are better human beings than John and I. And I feel like we made a lot of mistakes with parenting, but the truth is we actually owned them before our boys ever left the house.
Gosh.
Wow. That's some gold
Just
there.
don't mind me. I'm just taking a lot of notes for a friend
named Jennie. Okay.
That's beautiful.
Thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
That was tremendous. Can we back up a little bit? Because I would love to get a little bit of a biographical sketch. We've heard Florida, we've heard Colorado, we've heard Michigan. Obviously, you're in Tennessee now. Where did you guys meet? How to kind of walk us through the Bevere timeline, ministry places, all those things.
That was the truth. So both of us were raised in the Catholic Church, and knowing about Jesus, not knowing Jesus. I got saved. I played tennis was my life. I played the Junior Davis Cup. I played the USTA circuit. And then I started on Purdue University's tennis team. And I wouldn't really much listen to anybody unless they were a good athlete. And I'm really sorry to say that. But God knew that. So God sticks one of the best athletes in the state of Indiana in my fraternity. And he comes up and shares Campus Crusade, 4 Spiritual Laws. And I remember what really, really grabbed my attention. Because I'm thinking I'm Catholic, I'm going to heaven, all you people aren't. Because they kind of, at least the people that taught us got us to believe that.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying, can you tell me about the president of the United States? I said, yeah, he's Jimmy Carter. His wife's Rosalind, peanut farmer from Georgia, He said, great. Can you tell me about Jesus? I said, all my Catholic stuff, right? Born of a virgin, had 12 apostles. He said, do you know President Carter like you know your mother? I said, no, He said, what's the difference? I said, she's my mom. Okay. He said, no, you need to tell me what's the difference. I said, okay, I've never met him. I've never met Jimmy Carter. He said, so you know about Jimmy Carter and you know your mom personally? I said, yeah. He said, do you know Jesus like you know your mother? And I just sat there with a blank look on my face. And I said, what? He said, God created you to have an intimate relationship with you. Well, that opened my eyes right there. I got saved, got totally on fire, got so filled with the Spirit of God that I got totally on fire, started an all-campus Greek Bible study. We had like 50, 60, students coming.
Wow.
And so I'm 3 weeks away from graduating and I'm in summer session. Lisa was a student at Arizona, but her parents lived in where Purdue was.
So I was majoring in sun tanning.
Yeah.
So I had to do summer school because I'd start with 18 units, then I'd go to 15, then I'd go to 12. And I was never going to graduate. So I came back for summer school and
When I saw her, she and her mom were in such strife that she actually took 2 courses at Purdue for summer school, moved into the dorm to get away from her mom.
Well, my dad was an alcoholic.
And when I saw her,
both my parents were crazy nuts.
She had the shortest shorts on that any human being's ever had, and a one-top bathing suit. And this is going through the line.
A one-top? What's a one-top?
Well, I mean, one-piece bathing suit.
Top.
Whatever it is.
That sounds really
Translation.
A bikini top.
One piece.
She's got a one piece with the shorts on. Okay.
Okay,
She's going through the dorm. In the summer, you have to live in the dorm. The fraternity's closed. So I'm in the dorm and she's going through the line. And I just thought to myself, that's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my life. And I remember just praying under my breath. I said, God, please, please let my wife be that pretty.
No,
And
that's not what you prayed.
I did.
I
did.
You said, let my
I
wife have
especially
legs.
said, let her have
like
legs
that.
like that.
Let my wife have legs like that. And your prayer was heard.
I was suntan.
She's sitting at breakfast with a girl I knew, and I thought, oh, wow, I'm going to meet this girl. And she just talked about partying and drinking 16 beers, driving her car into a ditch, dating a rugby player, and all this. And I'm like, this girl's in another universe. So I lost interest in her. And because I hadn't been out with a girl for 2 years, I just said, Lord, I don't like dating. Bring my wife to me one day, and I'm done with dating. So she comes up to me a couple of weeks later and said, I think my mom's in a cult, because her mom was saved. And I said, hey, look, I'm busy. I'll be back next week. So the next week I came back.
No, wait, he told me you can call me next week. And I thought, in your dreams, you skinny little tennis player. So I thought, I don't call boys. So I did not
call boys.
First of all, I wasn't skinny. Well, compared to the mean guy she dated, I was skinny. Anyway, I called her when I got back from 4th of July, and I said, hey, do you want to go to a Bible study picnic? We're having a Bible study picnic Friday night. She thought it was just a Bible study. So she went. We sang a song.
Well, I said yes because of free food, but I had no intention of staying the whole time. And then I found out it was a date, and I tried to act Christian. I wasn't sure what Christian acted like.
This guy walked up to me and he goes, do you know she's the wildest girl on the whole campus?
Like they took a poll.
And
like they took a poll.
Midnight we go walking on the campus after the Bible study, and I started sharing the gospel with her at midnight, and at 1:30.
Did you start with Jimmy Carter also?
No, I didn't. No, I never even talked about Jimmy Carter. But at 1:30 in the morning, she grabbed my hands and said, do we need a Bible? And I said,
no, I think I said, do we need to light candles? I did not know.
No, you said, do we need a Bible? I remember this specifically. And I said, for what? She said, I want to do this. And I said,
I want to do this Christian thing.
You want to give your life to Jesus? And she said, yes. And I said, I'm not done telling you about it yet. She said, I don't care. I want to do it right now.
Wow.
And
I've heard enough.
In the morning on Purdue's campus. And she goes back to her room at 3, throws out all of her junk out of her room, and stays up from 3 to 5 looking for the book of Paul. And
I had a Way New Testament in my dorm room. So I was like, okay, he kept saying Paul said this and Paul said that. There must be a book of Paul.
The book of Paul.
So I finally stood it on its end,
couldn't find it.
Opened it up, and in Corinthians it says, if any man be in Christ, they're a new creation.
And I had quoted that over and over and over again.
I was I found the book of Paul. I was so excited.
Hilarious.
And the next morning I was making my bed, and God actually told me, the man you were with last night is your husband. I've called you to be the wife of a minister. And I was like, what does that look like?
Wow.
I was used to nuns and priests. There was no place in my brain for that. And and I did not say anything to John about that.
No.
He actually told me, he said, listen, I could never marry you because I'm called to the ministry. I'm probably going to need to marry a pastor's daughter or a missionary. And I said, I don't remember asking you to marry me.
Oh, shoot.
That was basically the beginning. So
wow.
Yeah, so we got married, a year and a half later?
Yeah, and we lived in Dallas for 6 years, and that's where we started ministry. We served in our local church, and then we moved to Florida as youth pastors, and then that's where Messenger International was birthed in 1990. So in 1999, we then moved to Colorado Springs, and we lived there 22 years.
Which is where all good Christian organizations end up at some point.
Well, actually, I think we're in the place where
It's
most
true.
of them are now. And then 2 years ago, we moved here to Franklin, Tennessee, which is a suburb of Nashville.
Sure.
It's almost like Nashville is what Colorado Springs was 25 years
With
ago.
the navigators and focus on the family and compassion and all that. Yeah.
Yep. There were so many international ministries in Colorado Springs 25 years ago. It was crazy.
Which is when I lived there. I was there 82 to 92, my first 10 years. And that was kind of the heyday of all that.
Yeah, we hadn't moved there yet.
Yeah, we moved in 99. Yeah. So, so we've kind of been all over. People say, "Where's your accent?" And I say, "I'm a mutt," because I was born in Kentucky, moved to Northern Ireland, lived in Michigan for 12 years, then moved to West Virginia, went to Purdue, and that went on from there. So I've been all over the place.
What a story.
Wow.
That's phenomenal. Do you still play tennis?
I kind of changed to pickleball.
Oh,
so
boy.
This is what's funny. I was on a tennis court 6 to 8 hours a day. And my sophomore year, we'd come back from our spring road trip. We played the Carolinas, Tennessee, Kentucky. And I literally flunked a physics test. And I thought, I have engineering, God, and tennis in my life. That's the only three things I have in my life. And it's not working. Mm-hmm. One of them has to go. And it was an easy choice. I walked off the tennis team as a starter. I've never regretted it. Well, then I went to ice hockey and golf. And I played ice hockey till I was 44. But then 2 years ago, I discovered pickleball. And all my love for racket sports has returned. And now I'm in 2 leagues.
I'm in 2 leagues.
That's amazing.
And
congratulations.
I still act like I did when I was 18. So
you did have an injury.
I did a little number on my calf going after a ball because
Christine Kane did the exact same thing. Didn't Christine Kane tear her calf on the pickleball court?
What's that?
I think Christine Kane tore a calf muscle on the pickleball court.
I had a partial, and so it's healing quickly. I mean, I've been getting a lot of help from an ortho guy that's a chiropractor ortho combination, and it's a great sport. Anyway,
how does that happen? Because I have heard multiple stories of calf tears.
Suddenly,
so there was a ball hit the net and trickled over, and I will say, I think just from all my tennis years, I have very fast reflexes. And I'm very fast. I can get anything on the court. I feel like I can get. And I went after this one so hard, I dug in, and I felt a little pop in my calf. And I went, oh, boy. And I couldn't walk off the court. And I thought, happened 2 weeks ago. And so the doctor said I can't play until next week.
Did you get to the ball?
I didn't. No. As soon as it popped, I went, whoa.
You abandoned the ball.
I couldn't move. So...
Did you play singles or doubles on tennis court?
Oh, well, when you play varsity tennis at a university, you play one round of singles and another round of doubles. So I was paired with the number 2 singles guy, and we were a doubles team. We actually were the number 3 doubles team, and I don't think we lost hardly any match. We had a good record. Singles, my problem was I had like about 100 to 125 mile an hour serve, and I had a really good volley, but I had a poor service return. So usually my sets went 3 sets.
Gotcha.
And it was long matches because I'd win my serve all the time, but I'd have trouble breaking serve.
Wow. Gotcha. Wow. And how, one hand or 2-handed backhand?
One.
Oh,
Roger Federer.
I got you. Yeah, Iceman. That's amazing. You don't see a lot of those.
No, but believe me, he's light years better than I was.
Wow. Oh, thank you for sharing all of that. Okay.
Wow.
And what moved you guys to Tennessee besides that's where every publisher and nowadays everyone ends up there?
Well, that's a really good question. And we're still kind of, okay, so we built our dream house in Colorado. When we built it, we had 3 boys still living with us. When we moved in, it was just John and I.
Oh
and we're like, wait, what just happened? So, so we loved the house. It worked great for the whole family if everybody was over. But John came in from prayer one morning and he said, I feel released from Colorado Springs.
Like, we had only lived there 18 months, the new house.
At the new house.
I thought I was going to live there until I was 90. I was like, this is our home for the rest of our life.
I'm going to get buried right there. Yep.
Wow.
That was the plan.
And it shocked me.
And I kind of was like, well, that's interesting. And so we thought, well, where would we go? Where would we go? Where do we have friendships? Because at the end of the day, let's just be honest. It isn't about the number of books you sell. It isn't about how many platforms you've been on. It's about relationships.
Yeah.
And we found ourselves very isolated in Colorado Springs. Outside of our team, outside of our family, we didn't really feel like we had some amazing friendships. Now, as soon as we decided to move, people came out of the woodwork and they're now our friends. But so John said, let's just talk it over with the family. So we're having a family dinner, which you need to say that equals chaos. We had, because when all the boys get together, there's the wrestling, uncles are carrying grandkids, on their shoulders, dogs are barking, and because we had multiple dogs in the house. And I looked at John, I said, please don't bring it up right now. This is not the right environment. And he was like, no, I feel like we should just bring it up. So he said, guys, I'm just thinking that we're released from Colorado Springs, and all 7 of our adult boys, and their wives, because one of the sons wasn't married yet, they all said yes. And we were shocked. And then they said, well, where are you thinking? And we're like, well, we're thinking we're going to do a reconnaissance trip to Nashville. And while we were talking, somebody offered us almost twice the amount we had paid for the house just less than 2 years before that. The house was never on the market. They had walked through the house. They were a Christian family.
They'd walked through it for the Parade of Homes.
Yeah.
And the house won the Parade of Homes in Colorado Springs.
Wow.
And they saw it. And they said 18 months later, all out of the blue, one night we get an email. It just so happens when we're talking to our kids about
at the same time.
That's providence there.
God.
Yeah, I would say that's confirmation, wouldn't you?
Yes.
I think so. Okay, so they were and all the boys were excited specifically about
all the boys
Tennessee.
Originally were excited. Then 3 of the boys stayed excited and moved. And then one son is still in Colorado, but now he wants to move. But that's kind of what happens. If you have 4 kids, you're going to have one contrarian that's going to be like, it's got to be my idea. I can't just be going along with the gang, everybody.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. So we feel incredibly blessed. Now we still have a presence in Colorado Springs. We added a presence in Franklin.
Sure.
So we still have some great team members in Colorado Springs. We have some great team members here. Most of our creative and podcast and marketing are here.
And are the boys involved in the ministry as well?
Yes. 3 of the 4 boys are involved in the ministry.
Well, the other one was involved for 9 years.
Yeah.
But he had such a desire for the business world. I actually said to him, if you don't resign, we're going to release you.
Yeah. I threatened to fire him so that he could pursue his dreams.
Wow.
Because your kids, when you work with family, it is one of the most beautiful, fulfilling things, and also one of the most challenging. Yeah. So we've loved working with our family, but we don't ever want to hinder our kids. So Addison, our oldest son, I don't know if you've ever met him. He's authored 2 books. He's authored Words with God and Saints. And he's phenomenal. He's our COO, but he's really transitioning to more and more ministry and speaking. I know he's done a lot of things with people that you would know. And then our youngest son, Arden, is over sons and daughters at kind of a next gen. And he wrote a book called Redefined about labels. And then our 3rd son is over creative. Mm-hmm. So, so they're all, he's the one married to the Australian. So all of our boys are flourishing in their realm. We were harder on our kids though than we ever were on our team members.
Sure.
I remember
that makes sense. Nepotism. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
How did it work? Because I imagine there was never any, you're going to be involved in ministry because your mom and dad are, but there was a sense of wanting for them to hear God's voice and hear God's call. Talk about that tension, not imposing dreams on your kids, but also, letting God call them.
Approached us saying they felt called to work for Messenger. So in Messenger, we've got, at that time we had 50 team members here in the U.S. and we have 1,000 team members globally that take care of all of our global distribution because we've given away over 54 million physical resources to pastors and leaders in virtually all over the world. Amazing. So
it would be translators, distributors.
They approach us, every single one of them, and said, we feel called to work at Messenger. So Addison, our oldest son,
was getting ready to go to Boulder for college.
Yeah, he
Is that
he was
Colorado
going-
University or University of
Yeah.
Colorado?
No, he was going to Colorado.
So anyway,
Yeah.
he just called summer after graduating magna cum laude and just said, "Dad, do I have to go to college?" And I was ready to go. And then I thought, I
They
better
graduated from
listen.
CSCS.
And he said, "I just want to work. I just want to work at Messenger." And I remember saying to him, I said, "As long as you continue to grow and educate yourself," I said, "I'll let you do it." And he read 75 books a year. He read 75 books a year, and it started out 75% were leadership business books and 25% were theological. Then Austin graduated with an international summa cum laude, but he went ahead and went to school, got a marketing degree, and he came in and eventually became our marketing department manager. And then Alec he was one of the top leaders in Apple in the state of Colorado, and he drops his resume on our desk in front of us and said, "Here's why I want to work for Messenger." Arden was the same way. And so I've told them
I overheard the conversation that Arden had. He was so funny. He applied for an internship at a church. And I went outside and I didn't know he was on a phone call outside, so we couldn't hear him, but I overheard him because his voice carried. And he said, the thing I never wanted to do was go into the ministry because my parents are in the ministry, but I feel like God is asking me to give him a year. And so I want to do an internship at a local church. And this internship was great because every single month he served in a different department. So you would do youth, pastoral care, evangelism. And he got paid $500 a month, I think. He stayed in somebody's house. He was my baby. And he kind of needed to go out to prove himself. And then he came home for a year. He still had a little bit of something as the baby. And then he went away to Bible college and was there for a year and then came back, and he's just been an incredible asset.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's incredible. I love that. I love hearing that. And it seems like there had to be a releasing of them, and then it was their decision of whether they were wanting to serve with you. I think that's so helpful to hear that, because I think sometimes it's like, oh, we just want our kids near us. And well, we do want our kids near us eventually, if God allows that. But but hearing that, because our oldest is 18 right now and getting ready for college, and we're in that season of figuring things out. And just hearing that of like, okay, you pursue, you go, you do what you need to do now, and then whatever God has for you, you're listening to the Holy Spirit speak to you. And that's just really cool to hear that and see that in your guys' lives.
Wow.
And we love all of our kids. If they all quit tomorrow, it wouldn't mean a breach on our relationship.
Yeah.
We want them to go further and farther than John and I ever did.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we have found is, the way we had to pioneer a ministry is different than the way they're, going for it. Like we had to, the way you built platforms, there was no platforms when we first started in the ministry. You had your face in the carpet and you cried out to God that he would open the doors that no man could shut the doors that no man could open. We wrote our first book and were rejected. John wrote his book. They were like, "No, you don't know how to write. You use too many scriptures. You need to pay money to go to school to learn." We're like, "We don't even have that money."
Yeah.
Wow.
Then they wrote a second book. Again, rejected. People like, "You don't know what you're doing. Too many scriptures." And all we wanted books for was for a resource and tool for follow-up. Because you guys know, you've got a half an hour with people.
Yeah.
And you might share something that needs to be deeply seated into their life. And so then John wrote the book called The Bait of Satan, about offense. And it was our story, what we had gone through and the rejection and the betrayal. And all of a sudden it exploded, but we know that there were a long time in secret, in scary places, driving up and down I-95 with two kids in the back of a Honda Civic, pregnant with a third, then pregnant with a fourth. And God has just been faithful. But we had we didn't even have health insurance to have babies. Like this was
Wow.
just very different days than the days we have right now.
Very different. Very
things
different.
were prayer and duct tape and shoelaces and
Absolutely.
yeah. But that's
And
what
I'm
it takes to pioneer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. And you guys now, I mean, gosh, I was just looking at the list. John, you've written 19 books. Lisa, you 14.
23.
Oh, is that
23 books.
okay?
Number 24 is coming out in February.
My mistake.
Ooh.
This list is clearly not correct. And then you guys wrote one together. So I mean, just between the two of you, I mean, that's like 40 books together. You guys have released in the last.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you guys always working on the next one, or is there some sense of like you wait till you're gonna have the sense of?
Yep. So I made a covenant with God. I said, I'll never write a book unless you speak to me about it. So I remember one time I went 4 years and didn't write a book.
Same.
And we had contracts coming in from publishers, and my CFO was like, please sign this, and the ministry's going to get 6 digits. And I said, nope, I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
God didn't tell me to.
Wow.
So, I mean, I feel like, English was my worst subject in high school, and it'd take me an hour just to write a paragraph. I couldn't do it. And so when God told me to write in 1991, I didn't do anything for 10 months. And 10 months later, 2 different women said, if you don't write what God's given you to write, he'll give the message to somebody else and you'll be judged for it one day. And it was within 2 weeks of each other, and they were from 2 different states.
Wow.
And I remember writing a contract with God. I put contract on top with a Sharpie. I said, I don't know how to write. I need grace. And I signed it. And now the books are in the tens of millions. I mean, Beta Satan alone just passed 6 million. It's on the cover. They put it on, the publisher put it on the cover. And what's really funny is that is the publisher that turned me down on the first book. So the very, very first publisher that turned me down ends up publishing Beta Satan, and now it's over 6 million copies.
Hilarious.
It's crazy.
That's a great story.
I know.
And they said it was too many scriptures in it.
What's it?
Too many scriptures.
Too many scriptures. No, it's a God story. I mean,
did you know this one is out?
Okay, I was going to talk about that. I was going to get to that. That's the newest one, right?
Yes.
Yes, it came out in February. Yes, sir.
The Awe of God.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about
it's my life message. I have been just seeking God about this for 30 years, and I mean intensely, because I believe it's what's lacking in the Western church right now. And I firmly believe if you look at the fear of the Lord, so the awe of God is the fear of God. And the reason we didn't put the fear of God on the cover is because fear just, it causes people to run.
Unless Jerry Lorenzo puts it on a sweatshirt, and then people will spend $200 on it. Yeah.
If you look at fears, we've made the mistake. You have healthy fears and unhealthy fears. Let me give you an example of healthy fear. All fear produces wisdom, right? All fear. Okay. Usually it's bad wisdom, but it produces wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right? The fear of being mauled to death by a mother grizzly bear will give me the wisdom to not mess with her cubs in front of her. That's not a bad fear. That actually will save my life.
Right.
If you look at the fear of the Lord, Isaiah 33:6 says it's God's treasure. Isaiah 11:3 says it's Jesus's delight.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul says in the New Testament that we mature our salvation through fear and trembling, not loving kindness. So here we're talking about God's treasure, Jesus' delight. What matures our salvation? Why don't we talk about this more? And so I literally had an encounter with the most famous evangelist on the planet in 1994. He was in prison for 5 years. CNN covered his trial every single night in 1989. Everybody. He was the mockery of
Christianity. Yeah.
Christianity and the world. Okay. Yeah. And he gets a hold of the first book I wrote in prison because Lisa sent it. Isn't that funny?
I love it.
So, unbeknownst to me, she said, I sent a copy, and she named his name. I said, are you kidding? So,
well, and we'd really judged him.
I was so critical of him. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And he knows this. So if he ever hears this, he knows. But I get a call from my assistant in 1994. She got a call from his assistant. He called from prison and said, would this man ever come visit me? And I said, well, sure. So Lisa and I drove to the federal penitentiary.
Jessup, Georgia.
He came out, he grabbed me, held me, wouldn't let me go. Then he looks at me and goes, we have so much to talk about and we only have 90 minutes. And the first thing he said to me when he sat down is, this prison wasn't God's judgment on my life. It was his mercy.
Oof.
He said, John, if I would have continued to live the way I was living, I would have ended up in the lake of fire, separated from God forever.
Wow.
And when he said that, I realized, okay, this is not the same man I watched on CNN. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I ever think this about him? Right. So he shares his whole testimony, how Jesus came into his cell his first year of prison and delivered him from all the evil that was in his life, because there was evil in his life. And how they spent 3 hours a day, every day in the Bible, he and the church in prison. And I said, of course you're leading this church. And he goes, are you kidding? I'm a master manipulator. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I am not the leader. There's a former Methodist minister who got arrested for something. He's the one that's doing it. So 20 minutes into it, I figure I can ask my biggest question. So this was my biggest question. I mean, here I get saved. He's one of the only men that's on TV, he and a couple other guys. And I would watch him. So many souls would get saved. He would weep when he talked about Jesus. He would weep over souls, right? And
He was also selling dolls.
I said to him,
He was selling dolls?
When, at what point did you fall out of love with Jesus? I said, when did it happen? I need to know, because I don't want to fall into this trap.
Yeah.
And he said, I didn't. And I said, and now my walls go all the way up again. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You committed adultery with, I named the person's name in 1983. You had all this mail fraud, all this evil that was in your life that you actually admitted to. What do you mean you didn't fall out of love with Jesus? He said, John, I loved him all the way through it. And he sees the total confusion on my face, right? And he said, I didn't fear God.
Wow.
And he said, there's millions of Americans just like me. They love Jesus, but they have no fear of God. So if you look at, love is what keeps us from legalism, the love of God, right? You got this ditch called legalism. Love delivers us from that ditch, right? But the other side of the road, there's another ditch called lawlessness. Okay. That means I'm a law unto myself. Okay. That means I'm going to end up with an excessive, fleshly, worldly lifestyle. The force that keeps us from lawlessness is the fear of the Lord. The Bible says, by the fear of the Lord, one departs from evil, not by the love of God. Well, he proved that to me because I'm looking at a guy who I know loved Jesus, but yet he's in prison for his lawlessness.
Wow.
And I realized right then that there was so much more to this. And it started me on a quest to know and come to understand what is the real healthy fear of God. So the fear of the Lord doesn't mean you're scared of God.
Yeah.
Okay. That I need to make sure everybody gets that.
Yeah,
you can't be intimate with somebody you're afraid of. It's impossible.
Right.
So the fear of the Lord is more about being terrified of being away from God. That's the true fear
Or
of the Lord.
hurting his feelings, right? Making him sad. Any of that. I love that you use the word awe to describe that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Moses told the people when they ran away from God, when he came down on the mountain, he said, hey, do not fear because God's come to see if his fear is in you so that you may not sin. Okay. He's not talking out of two sides of his mouth. He's saying, don't be scared of God because God's come to see if his healthy, holy fear is in you, because that healthy, holy fear is what will keep you from sin. So Proverbs says, by the fear of the Lord, one departs from evil. That's what gives us the ability to stay true. Right now, Barna has said that over 20 million Americans in the last 23 years have gone from practicing Christians to now professing agnostics, atheists, and spiritualists. 20 million. That's 1 out of every 14 Americans. That's not 1 out of every 14 people that go to church. That's 1 out of every 14 million Americans have walked away from the faith. And Paul said this. He said, before Jesus returns, that day won't come until there's a great falling away of those who once professed Christianity, right? So, and by the way, he never said they wouldn't come back. I believe they're coming back.
There you go.
Just as John the Baptist went after the lost sheep of the house of Israel, I believe that God's going to raise up young men and women, older men and women that are going to go after the lost sheep of the church.
Amen.
But what has caused them to depart in America is the lack of proclaiming the healthy fear of the Lord. So the fear of the Lord literally is a force. If Jesus delights in it, right? And it's by that we mature our salvation. And by the way, it is the only thing, according to Paul, the apostle who had the revelation of grace, that produces holiness. So Paul said that we perfect holiness in the fear of God, not in the love of God. And Jim, the evangelist that I visited in prison, he proved that.
Yeah.
Okay. So he wasn't living holy at all. And there is the ability to live a life that really glorifies God. And that's what a lot of people today are not being told in the Western church.
Yeah.
So what happens is you become a slave to sin if you give yourself to sin.
Yeah.
That's a law in the New Testament. You're a slave to whomever you obey. Okay. Peter writes it, Paul writes it, both of them. So what happens is when you don't preach the healthy fear of God, you start flirting with sin. You don't have that restraining force. Because I have heard pastor after believer say, I loved Jesus, yet I found myself in bed with my assistant, who's another man's, wife.
Wow.
How did this happen? You didn't have the healthy fear of God. So just as the love of God is a very, very real force, the fear of God's a very, very real force. It's one of the manifestations of the Holy Spirit. And Jesus said, if you ask your Father for the Spirit, he'll give them to you.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says in the book of Psalms, come close and I will teach you the fear of the Lord. Okay, so it has to be taught. It has to be caught.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I believe with all my heart, the millennials and Gen Zs are going to grab this.
Yeah.
Like in a big way.
Yep.
Because God spoke to me 30 years ago. The last real move of God that covered our whole nation was the Jesus Revolution.
Yeah.
What did we find out in Jesus Revolution? He is our dad and he loves us. Right?
Yeah.
And that delivered us from the legalism we were in. Now we're in a lawless place, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And so God showed me 30 years ago, he said, the next move of my spirit that's coming will be a move on the holy, healthy fear of God. And he said, that's what's going to deliver my church from lawlessness and produce the holiness of the bride that Jesus is coming back.
Powerful.
Wow.
And that's really what that marked the Great Awakening. That sense of sinners in the hands of an angry God. The fear of God was such a component of so many of the great revivals.
Well, and I feel like we've got two opposing forces right now. We've got the fear of man and we've got the fear of God.
Yeah.
And the fear of God swallows up the fear of man. And there's so many people that seem to have forgotten certain things. Like when John shared the gospel with me, he didn't say, where are you going to go when you die? He actually told me I was dying in that moment. And the life I lived from that moment forward was surrendered to Christ. And we have a lot of people that they hear, oh, Jesus paid the price for my sins, but that's not all he paid the price for. He purchased your life. And I think that we have forgotten that we give our entire body, we present our entire being, our spirit, soul, and body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. And so I think there's a lot of confusion right now in our world where people think they can make choices on certain things and God gets their Sunday morning worship instead of understanding our entire being in our lives is a worship of him.
Yeah.
Very good.
This is so
Okay, the awe
powerful.
of God.
Gosh.
Where can
Thank
people get
you.
a copy of this? Where's the best place people to go for this?
They're all Prime members. Right now, it's a $29 book, and it's on sale right now for $17 on Amazon. So they're Prime members. Just go to Amazon. It's better for us if they got it from our ministry, but I don't want them to go through all the work of putting their name, address, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
They can go to johnbevere.com and get it from us, but it's easiest that they just go. But what I do want to say is that I prayed and I said, God, people just aren't reading anymore. What do I do to get this message across? And he put it in my heart to write short chapters. So there's 42 chapters and all but 2 of them have 6 pages. Those 2 have 8 pages. So you can read a chapter in 5 minutes if you're a normal reader, 7 minutes if you're a slow reader. Then at the end of every chapter, there's the promise, there's the point, the main point. Then there's the ponder, which I wrote all of these. The ponder is the thing really gets the truth in that chapter in you for the day. Then there's the prayer, and then there's the profession. And it is not a devotional. It is a book. You can sit down and read it from cover to cover, but I made it so you can go through it in 6 weeks, 42 days, right?
Love
so
it.
There's 6 sections, 7 chapters each. And then at the end of the book in the appendix, there's a QR code where we did free 42-minute, 4-minute videos where I go a little more into depth into each chapter. I just want to make it an experience because I want people to really get this in them. And the thing that I really want every one of your listeners to hear is in 30 years of studying this, I have discovered over 40 distinct rewards that Scripture makes so clear that is only promised to those who fear God. Only promised to those who fear God. So now I'm not talking about one or two scriptures. I'm talking about a list for every one of those 40 promises. And when you realize that, oh my goodness, I mean, like security, safety, healing. Okay. I mean, these are specifics. You'll never lack anything, any bread, any food. There can be famine. You're not going to lack food. God promises it to those who fear him. Angelic protection, the freedom from the fear of man. Number one benefit of the fear of God, number one, is an intimate relationship with God. God says in Psalm 25, verse 14, friendship with the Lord is reserved.
Yeah.
Listen to these words.
Wow.
To those who fear him, with them, he shares his secrets.
I mean, there you go.
Hey, I can't think of anything better. I want God sharing his secrets with me. And I don't share my secrets with just anybody. I share them with intimate, close friends. I share my closest secrets with Lisa or my children, but I'm not just going to share with anybody the secrets of my life. And we all know there's good secrets. Not all secrets are bad secrets.
Yeah.
And so I believe the greatest reward, if that was the only reward of walking in that fear of the Lord, is to have an intimate friendship with God.
Yeah.
Then I'm in, I'm all in, right?
Amen.
There's so many other rewards.
Well,
Wow, gosh.
we're sold. You are a compelling communicator. Obviously, people who have heard you preach, both of you, but you guys are great writers too. I remember reading your book, Honor's Reward, you had written a number of years back. I was doing a series on honor and loved how you approach writing, love how you speak. We are out of time, so we're going to definitely bring this down. I'm thankful for you both.
Yes.
The message, the words, the life, what you just said, that last 10 minutes was solid gold.
Yeah.
And a very a needed word for this season and every season, of course. John Bunyan has a very great book on fear of God. I remember reading early on in ministry. So I love that you've now updated it from Bunyan, because I don't think very many of the people have jumped in the fray. You would know on a book on the fear of the Lord, but what an important topic to tackle.
From Bunyan to Bevere.
Ooh.
He's a friend. Look at the gray beard. I've been around a while.
That's funny. Well, you guys, happy Thanksgiving to you both. Thanks for blessing.
Thank you. Thank you. What a treat to get to spend some time with you guys.
The honor's all ours being on. Thank you for what you're doing to impact so many people. And you guys are.
And you guys are excellent communicators and writers.
Yes. And you ask great questions. Oh my gosh. I love being on a podcast where really good questions are asked. And you guys do it very well.
All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful holiday and blessings to all you and your family.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to swing by levilusko.com and jennielusko.com to see what's going on in our world.
And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And in the meantime, we would love to connect with you on social media.
Jennie and Levi Lusko, out.